it's such a pleasure to see you again and talk about this film. Obviously, a well-known character in popular culture, but this is a more complicated time. He's a little bit more cynical than we've known him. Can you tell us more?
You mean Batman is more cynical?
No, Alfred.
Alfred, well, I don't know if Alfred, no, I would say he's not cynical. I'd say he has a certain ironic humor, but that probably comes from me partly. I know, well, the English generally use irony a little bit more than some nationalities, but I wanted, and Zach, our director, wanted an Alfred who could really talk with Bruce, who could really make him question, help him through moral tangles, and wit. Irony is always useful, and I think we're very lucky in this script that we have Chris Terrio writing it, who's got a great ear for a phrase. And when I talked to him originally, when he was writing, I said, you know, any moments you can get where Alfred has a little zinger, let's use it, because the film brings so much to the screen. I mean, it's just, I found it mind-blowing. But when you do have talking heads, let's have it something that's really worthwhile, you know, that is of as high a standard and quality as these enormous effects that are happening.
Well, that's always the great challenge of films like that, and that's why they bring on talented actors like yourself to make the characters stand out more than the visual effects around them. And
well,
it must be
it
must be the appeal for you as well.
That's right. That's right. I mean, a well-written scene is like the smell of a fox to a terrier. It's something you just chase. That's what you want, because they're rare. And why actors tend always to go back to the great writers, because that's where the great writing is. And on film, one's lucky to find it. And when you do find it, that's what you want to do. Also, of course, a very iconic character like Alfred, and having the chance to put a slightly different spin on it, as we have a new Batman, we have a new Alfred and a new relationship, which I think is probably an interesting way to go.
And those characters are so intertwined in the history of who they are. And in this new twist, how much did you discuss, you know, the backstory of, you know, Bruce and Alfred?
A lot. We decided that Bruce's parents would have found a guardian for their 10-year-old or 8-year-old, whatever age he was when Alfred appeared in the family. But somebody who could really take care of this kid.
A real father figure.
Well, a father figure, but also somebody who could protect him if he was a kidnap attempt. Somebody who he could talk to and discuss his worries with, and so almost an elder brother figure. But somebody who was very competent in every area which their son would need. And I think they would choose someone who had that training. And so we thought, let's have a military background, a special services background for Alfred, and yet a man who could make a good breakfast too, a man who could repair the motor car, a man who could, well, we'll see, he can do other things, but not a superhero, a very ordinary guy, but useful to have for a superhero. Like, you know, every guy needs a bunch of keys in his pocket. He has to, and there's not much in a key, but he can't live without it. And that's sort of what Alfred is. He's the Batman's bunch of keys.
He's indispensable too.
Indispensable,
I think Batman's history. How much did you ever get excited about, you know, what superheroes mean to mainstream cinema in the last at least 20 years?
Well, I've never been a superhero viewer, really. Just not been my bag. There are other things that interest me. But I think we've always had superheroes. I mean, Shakespeare wrote superheroes, Coriolanus, Macbeth, Hamlet, all in their own ways, they're superheroes. They're people who embody the emotions and the dreams that we all have, but 100 times fold. And it's very important that we, I think it's part of entertainment, that we have those stories, those big folk stories, those big, now they're, you know, They perform the same function. They take us out of our rather pathetic little lives and allow us to be superheroes ourselves for 2 hours. And that's important, I think.
Absolutely, and the themes are all there in this one about
Yeah.
the extraordinary, about the father figure, the godlike figures, and
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
Can we elaborate a little bit more?
Well, I mean, I would say that there are only probably, but who has it said, there are only 7 stories in the world. Everything is a sort of a bit of those original 7 stories. But I think the theme of Superman being, you know, the sort of the world power who decides, nothing to do with us, who decides whether we invade Iraq or whether we, you know, drop bombs on Libya or whatever we do, has nothing to do with us, even though we live in a democracy. And I think Batman maybe represents us. And we think, you know, I think this is wrong. I'm going to go out and do something about it. And, of course, there comes a time when you say, I don't think, as we did in this country, when Tony Blair took this country into Iraq, most people, millions demonstrated, we said, no, we don't want to. And yet he did it. And so I think probably feeling relatively powerless, we side with Batman and we see the problems. Of course, there's dilemmas, but nevertheless, we dream to be able to do that, to make a difference and to challenge the sort of God-given powers that some nations feel they have to make the world as they believe it should be.
For someone with such an eclectic experience in so many different genres of films and roles, does it become about the experience for you, the reason why you decide to take on a role? Of course, scripts and directors are very important, but the experience, is it important too? The atmosphere, the world you embody in this film?
No, I mean, that's just always part of playing a role, is where it takes you and the experience of playing a particular character, getting inside that particular character. Of course, that's a mental journey and an emotional journey. That's part of the pleasure of doing the work. There are many other reasons why you choose to do a particular film or not, as you've mentioned, but that is part of it.
What did you find most exciting about Batman versus Superman, just because there's such a huge fan base waiting for it?
Well, I play a very little. I think the most exciting thing for me about it was watching it. I was blown away, absolutely blown away. I thought I came out feeling I'd had a really huge and wonderful meal, and that it was well worth the money. I'd had a good time. I thought the film really delivers. It's full of really interesting actors. It's a great story. The effects are extraordinary, and you're not, for a moment, anything but utterly excited as you watch it.